But so, yeah, I guess we can officially get into this now if y'all are ready.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Shannon Curtis, thank you very much. You and Jamie Hill, your husband slash producer, right? Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys very much for joining me here. So y'all are currently on tour, correct? And you guys are
Had our
gonna be
first show
in.
last night in Seattle.
I'm sorry. Go ahead and continue.
We had our first show last night in Seattle.
Wow. And how did that go?
It was incredible.
Super good.
We got to play at the Triple Door, which is just like the most gorgeous room in town.
That's
and
amazing.
It was just, it was neat.
Did you all have an opener, or was it just you guys?
It was good.
We do all of our shows kind of evening with, meaning it's just us.
Right.
We kind of structure it, it's like a theater show, so it's really sort of a complete meal by itself. It doesn't really need an appetizer, if you know what I mean.
Right. No.
It's like going to the movies. It's about an hour and 40 minutes long. It's got a beginning, it's got a middle, it's got an end, it's got a point.
There's like a narrative throughout the whole thing. So it is kind of like a mixture between a concert and theater.
That's wonderful. I love that.
Yeah.
So, I was watching some of your live performances through your YouTube channel, and you have quite a wealth of collections. You know, from your TEDx talk to individual music videos that you guys have produced and made all on your own. And if you wouldn't mind sharing a bit of your background history and some of the things, like how did you grow into becoming such an individual, like DIY for your values, all of that stuff. It's so inspiring to me that it shows through in your live performances, and it's so theatrical, as you were saying. What brought you to form this whole idea of a theatrical performance rather than just grab a guitar and start singing?
That's a great question. So I've been doing music for a long time. It's probably as a solo artist, close to 18 years as a solo artist. And I was in a band for a number of years before that. So, doing DIY music is really difficult. And you know this, and a lot of your listeners or viewers know this too. It can be a really hard road. It's the arts are so important to our culture and to our society, and yet we have not yet as a society made it a priority to really support artists in a meaningful way. And so those of us who are really dedicated to no, this is the path I'm going to be on, have to find a way. It's kind of like, I like the metaphor of water finding its way downhill. You think you're going to go this way, but nope, you got to go this way and you got to go this way. And so what that turned into a number of years back is that I had been traveling all over the country, just booking myself in small venues and coffee houses and anywhere I could find to play shows, and hauling my keyboard in there and doing these solo shows. I mean, laps around the United States in my Volkswagen Jetta by myself. He would join me when he could, but it was a slog. And then somebody invited us to do a house concert in San Diego, and we were living in Los Angeles at the time. And so we're like, let's go check it out. And that experience just really was one of those moments where it was oh, we could find an audience in a different kind of way. And so we started sort of developing our own method of house concert touring, which we did for a decade, in which we did tours every summer all over the United States. And we performed in the living rooms and backyards of people who support our music. So this is not like house concert venues. These were people, just regular people who we sort of enlisted to become our house concert hosts. And we built an audience over that period of time. And also, what we built was community, because in those kinds of settings, you really have an opportunity to get to know people. It's we really sort of developed these relationships with hundreds and thousands of people who feel like cousins all over the country, And so, we mentioned, I think just before, or no, at the beginning of the interview, that we just started our tour. We played in the Triple Door last night in Seattle, which is a gorgeous theater venue, just beautiful room. And that room was filled with people who, for the most part, we have personally met, shaken hands with, hugged in people's living rooms and backyards over the last 10 years. So it was really, really special. And so you asked about the narrative bit of things. And honestly, it's really tied with this whole community thing too, because the way that this all sort of unfolded, in the house concert format, what we discovered nearly every night, as there would be a line of people waiting at the merch table at the end of the night to buy merch, which is lovely, but also to take a moment to share with me, even people who had been strangers before the show started that night, to share some part of their story that resonated with what they heard in the concert. And it occurred to me that that there was just this really special thing happening. And then we got invited to do a TED Talk. I got invited to do a TEDx talk a number of years ago. You mentioned that. And that was one of the first opportunities I had to sort of weave in narrative stuff with songs and start experimenting with that. We ended up bringing a lot of that into our house concerts too. So over the years, we really developed this sort of like theatrical experience for people in their neighbors' backyards.
I noticed the format from the TEDx had carried over into the Good to Me tour interview or the preview trailer type of things.
Yeah.
I did. I totally noticed that format shift, and I thought that was brilliant that you recognized that from the TEDx format and you brought it forward with you. And I'm not sure how many people noticed that, but truly, I think that was something that's a learning experience that you noticed and you took advantage of it, and I think that's brilliant. So
thank you.
So much of our career has just been figuring out what the next thing is, and getting shown by the universe what the next thing is. Our experience, I think, is that a lot of times we have an idea of what we're going to do, and we start to do it. And then other people in our lives or other artists that we know or other humans that we know in adjacent disciplines will help shape what the experience eventually ends up being in ways that we couldn't have really seen ahead of time. Mm-hmm. You know, like the house concert thing was kind of handed to us by this woman who invited us to do that first show in her house. And we were smart enough to take it and run with it because we saw it for what it was, you know. But so much of what has helped us continue to, you know, be successful in some small measure of what we're doing is just being good listeners. I think being open to those signals from the universe when the universe is like, hey, you think you're going to be going like this, but you need to go like this. And if you can just have your antennae out and be listening for that and recognize it when it comes, you can really thrive.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I can totally relate to that. On my own experience currently, literally I started doing my TikTok and my Instagram stuff for my own music production things, but it led me down this path into wanting to reach out into the community, because I'm from California, which is a bad word out here in Idaho.
Where?
So I'm from Palm Springs myself.
We love Palm Springs. Must have been a weird place to grow up.
It was. Let me tell you, it really was. But that was, that's what challenged me to bring my own DIY. I rose from the whole punk scene, the DIY punk rock scene. Yeah. ADHD moment.
Relatable.
It was really cool. So I started doing my whole music production stuff, and then so I wanted to get involved in the Boise scene, and I started sharing my own music and stuff, and I volunteer at the Boise Hive, which is another independent not-for-profit out here to do volunteering to put on their live sounds and stuff. So
awesome.
I grew myself into the community a bit more, and now I'm friends with all these local bands and stuff, and that's what's opened the door for me to help not only, express myself, but also to bring in the local sounds and the local artists and stuff like that I just love interacting with, and I also just happen to love their music.
Awesome.
So great.
So that's where this is pushing me towards. So,
Oh, that's great.
A perfect analogy. Thank you.
Boise's got a really cool underground music scene, real cool punk scene. Yeah. It's there are some adverse conditions that y'all are dealing with in Idaho right now. And I think that punk and underground, subgenres can really thrive in adversity like that. I wish y'all didn't have to. I wish it weren't so adverse. But clearly you all are taking that and really making something beautiful out of it, and that's amazing.
I say that to my friends a lot. You can't really have empathy unless you've had the struggle, it's it's a really difficult thing to come to terms with, but that is reality, you know. It really is.
Yep. The best flowers grow out of shit.
Amen. I love that. Oh man. Okay, so excuse us. Getting back onto you.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so as far as musical influences, let's see. Tell me if this speaks to you. Sinead O'Connor, Carole King, Annie Lennox, Erykah Badu, Kate Bush. Those were kind of what I was getting at in terms of like where I can see Shannon Curtis. You know,
that's a lovely bouquet to be a part of. Thank you.
You made her day.
I want to just say, like, I cannot listen to your music or watch your videos without becoming emotional because truly I love it, like, legitimately. It's so empowering and it's so just all self-love, and I truly love it. So thank you for sharing that with the world, and I really hope that I could go to the show on Sunday at the Lounge at the End of the Universe.
Me too.
Yeah.
I would really love to meet y'all there. But
Same.
And but as far as those influences, can you speak to where you were coming from the very beginning? Because there is a stark difference between your EPs and I love it. It's just a simple drum machine, piano, acoustic, all the way to these incredibly, electronic, vibey, ambient. I love the everything. I just can't get enough of it.
Awesome. Well, when I started out, it was I used what I had available to me, right? That's what we do as artists. Sometimes a limited toolkit can really spur a lot of creativity, like you figure out how to use what you've got. And so I had a keyboard, and I couldn't afford to tour with a band or anything like that. So I had to figure out how to tour with just me and my keyboard and perform songs. So for a lot of years, even through all the house concert years, every time I would go to write an album, and by the way, I wrote and we made and released one new album every year for 10 years in a row. Like, we did that every year so that we could have new material to bring out on the road every summer.
Can't sell the same t-shirts 2 summers in a row, you know what I mean?
No, I have right here that y'all made 3 EPs in 3 years and 16 albums in 12 years. Like, you had 2014, 2016, and 18. Like,
yeah.
We take the word working very seriously in the words working artist.
Look, a serious digression for a second for any other younger artists who are watching this. The more you make, the more you will eat. It's good to be hungry, and it's good to work as hard as you can. What frustrates me, well, not frustrates me, but what I feel a lot of empathy for is when I see young artists who are like, I put out an EP, and then 2 years later, they're like, I put out another EP. It's like, okay, that's 2.5 songs a year. What if you did 2.5 songs a month? You know what I mean? You would literally be 12 times further down the road.
Of figuring out who you are as an artist, of connecting with new audience. There's just make stuff. That's what you got to do. But anyway, back to your question. I was throughout all the house concert years, every time I'd go to sit down and write a record, I had to think to myself, I've got to be able to pull this off with me and my keyboard in the backyard. And over the years, we developed some things that we brought some sound design to it through the PA. There was things that we did creatively over the years, but it still fundamentally had to be me carrying the song on a piano or a keyboard. And so all the songs sort of flowed into that stream of things. And then the pandemic hit, and we could not go on tour. And I was still making a new record in those years, making new records in those years. And it occurred to me that I was not going to be limited by having to perform these shows live on a keyboard. And so I spent a good chunk of the pandemic learning how to program synthesizers and drum machines and indulging this sort of fantasy of bringing in all these textures that I loved from when I was growing up. And, I was entering my early teen years when 80s music was just coming into its peak. And so a lot of those artists that you mentioned in that bouquet of beautiful artists, like those were some of the people, you know, that making music at that time that like just, you know, blew my socks off. And so it was really fun to be able to indulge that wider palette of sonic textures and create this just this big sound. And then when touring came back into the realm of possibility for us, we're like, well, we can't do these songs in backyards very effectively.
Be very rude.
It would be very rude. And so that's what sparked sort of this opportunity for us to develop this stage show for theaters. And it's been something that has been in the back of our minds for a while to try to develop, but this finally made sense with this sound, with these groups of songs, with, you know, to bring this experience to the stage. It has been so much fun to just like explore these outer reaches of what we've maybe been wanting to do for a long time, but we're limited by what we thought we were limited by the circumstances we were in.
Absolutely. I love that. It's crazy because it's like the pandemic brought you back only to push you forward. You know, yes! It's crazy. I love that. Because like you couldn't have thought about that until you had those limitations. Then you kind of, you know, metamorphosized through learning all these new things, and then you just went boom, right back out into it. And I that's all even more inspiring. That's just layers on top of layers.
I'm imagining a rubber band when you say that. It looks so good.
It's back to that idea of being a good listener, you know? Sometimes things that you think that are happening to you that like you might initially perceive as being negative or a setback might actually be the universe giving you exactly the thing you need to go much further forward.
Absolutely.
You know? It's good to like receive things without judging. It's really easy just to feel like we have to make snap judgments about things that are happening in our experience. But if we can detach a little bit and try to be kind of a neutral third-party observer, like to our own experience and what's happening to us, to take a breath and pause before reacting, sometimes it's possible to see things like from a different angle that can make them much better.
1000%. No, I love that idea too. I've kind of had to come through that in my own therapy, actually, the whole third.
Yes.
So no, it's
been a big part of my journey too. I really relate to that a lot.
Absolutely. There was a time in my own personal life where I didn't really value myself, you know, and it really helped to take a step back and say, well, I can have all this care and love for other people. Why can't I do the same for myself? You know,
right?
Truly. And that the third party observer really helped me break out of that mold. So no, it's a completely valid analogy for music or for mental health. So I appreciate it. Yeah.
It's me too. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. No kidding. Let's see. As speaking which of the community aspect, Misfit Stars. How about that? How about we talk?
You did your research.
Oh, a little bit, you know. Excuse me. Misfit Stars, it's not only the name of your fan community, correct? But y'all also have a podcast.
Used to.
We did have a podcast. That was, we did it for five years.
Yeah, it was kind of basically it was a pre-pandemic, but then really came into its own during the pandemic as a way for us to be in touch with and communicate with our people better, not being able to see them in person, you know,
and on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Misfit Stars, yeah, it was a podcast for a while, but it is still our support community. There's a group of people that we call our Misfit Stars who are like monthly financial supporters of our work. And that really, I mean, that support has been so instrumental in giving us a cushion from which we can develop this new theater show, the theater touring that we're doing, because it takes time. I mean, it takes a lot of time to like research the venues, find the right people to contact, email the people, email them again, like
we're DIYing all of this stuff. So we don't have a booking agent. We don't have a manager. It's literally just the two of us. But now we're interacting in all these kind of larger public environments where they're mostly used to just dealing with like managers and booking agents. And I'm coming in there like, hi, you don't know us, but you should.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I wouldn't have even thought about. You know,
so because it's just taking because it's just taking a long time to get this going. And now that we've done the first handful of shows in these theaters, we'll be able to go back to those places in the future. It won't be such a heavy lift the next time around, but like getting this up and going has just taken time. And so the support of our community has made it possible for us to continue eating food while we're doing this,
That's what the community is there for, right?
Yeah, they're incredible.
That's amazing. I love that. How long did it take you to build up such a strong community? Like, I'm sure there was your main fan base, right, in the first few years or so, but to like build that community and to keep it going, and to keep it going.
I mean,
please.
Really, it was the house concert touring that did that, and so it was a period of like 10 years. And we don't use the F word around here, by which I mean fan. We don't because. Well, here's why. Because a fan, to me, sounds like a distant relationship. It sounds like somebody adoring from afar, and that's just not our vibe. Like we were like the last people to leave. Like even the staff at the venue last night were long gone before we were, because we had talked to so many people at the end of the show. You know what I mean? Like, it's meaningful to us to have that connection, and it's important. And ideally, that's what art does, is it brings people together and forms connections between human beings, because we're starved for that and we need it desperately to thrive in our lives. And so, like that's why it's so important. So we don't use the word fan because it just sounds so like distant. We have relationships with the community, but it took a while to build that up. And we are connected with a whole lot more people than our supporters. Our Misfit Stars supporters are a subset of the larger group of people, So, it's a matter of like, I think, continuing to choose to put yourself out there and to let yourself be known for who you are and what you make, and allowing the universe to connect that with the right people, and that just takes time, but it takes openness and a willingness to keep going back out and out and out and out. And those people will find you. Like, they have found us and we have found them, and we will continue to do that, hopefully.
Right. I mean, luck is when opportunity meets preparation or something like that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what y'all have been doing, just kind of blazing your path forward. And truly, it's something that's inspiring to me, as well as a ton of other people. Like, just in the past few days that I've known and have been preparing for this interview, I've shared your music and your message with a few of my close friends, and they were just as excited as I was.
I hope you're all coming to the show in Boise on Sunday. Everybody needs to come.
And if anyone needs
possible too, so yeah.
If anyone would like to come, but a ticket purchase would be a barrier to that for whatever reason, maybe financial, maybe some other reason, please find me on Insta and just reach out to me. We do this thing called Ticket Angels, where I find people to give me money to buy tickets for people who need tickets bought for them.
Wow. That's something I wasn't even aware of. That's amazing.
Yeah,
totally. I mean, here's the thing. When we did our house concerts, we did all those shows on what we called an open donation basis. So there was no ticket price for people to come. Everyone could come. And then at the end of the show, they were asked to make a donation to say thank you for the show. And so it meant that anybody in any financial situation could come to our shows, which became a real value of ours over the years. And so when we were transitioning into ticketed events, we're like, gosh, how are we going to continue that spirit of things? And we weren't really sure how we were going to do that until we booked our first show. It was almost exactly a year ago in Sacramento, California, at this gorgeous theater, which we're playing at again in a couple of weeks, next weekend, actually. And somebody from Philadelphia or from Pennsylvania emailed and said, or commented on Facebook and said, I can't come to the show, but I want to buy 2 tickets for someone who wouldn't otherwise be able to afford to. And we're like, oh my God.
Stealing that.
What a great idea. And so that one act, it was somebody in our community who spurred this idea. It was not our idea, but it's become, but
again, good listeners.
Yeah. Dozens and dozens. Dozens and dozens of people have purchased tickets for people they don't know in other cities, just because they want other people to see what we're bringing. They value it too. And so we get to share that gift sort of like through, our community in that way.
So to sum up, anyone listening, if you want to come to the show, if you can afford tickets, please do purchase them. If you can't, let me know and we'll sort you out.
And he is on Instagram at Hilljam, HILLJAM.
Mm-hmm.
So message him.
All right, Hilljam, that is at HILLJAM, correct? Okay. That's so rad. I wasn't even aware that was a service that could be possible. Thank you so much for sharing that. Holy cow. But no, that's incredible. I'm aware that you only have a limited time with me. Is that still something that we need to be aware of? Yes?
We do have to get on the road for getting down to our next show.
Here?
Oh, like -7 minutes or so.
Okay. I'm glad I spoke up. Okay, awesome. Well, I don't want to hold y'all up any longer, but
we would love to talk with you longer, and we're looking forward to seeing you in person.
Absolutely, same. And we definitely have to catch up after the show. I do have some man on the street mics, so I'll have to get some in. Excuse me. As you can tell, I'm a little excited. But no, I do have so much that I could still go over with you, but I'll save that for the show.
Part 2.
We'll do this again.
Absolutely. I would love to. Thank you so much, Jamie, Shannon. Thank you.
You too, Eric.
Thank you. You're very welcome. And again, shout out to Joe Black and Nighttime Asylum Productions for getting us together here. And again, Shannon Curtis, the Good to Me tour. I have everything up on a template. I'm sure y'all can't see it on your Zoom, but it's all up here for me on OBS. So
love it.
Yes, I'll make sure to get this out as soon as possible for y'all. Thank you very much. And
you too, Eric.
Thank you. So good to meet you.
Good to meet y'all too. Okay, take care. Good luck.
We'll see you soon.
See you soon.
See ya.